Yo, I'm good. I'm out. Hello and welcome back everyone to the video series dedicated show on CBS that loves to play fast and sloppy. That's right, we're talking about Survivor Season 40, Winners at War, Episode 10. And this episode starts off just very heartwarmingly, as this is the family visit episode, but this is a monumental moment in Survivor history, as this isn't just like your normal family visit episode where one person comes out of the bushes and you're hugging them and loving them. No. Major families were brought out. I mean, kids, wives, spouses, partners, sisters, everybody you can think of was coming out of those bushes, and it was a huge moment. I think this was something that not only the contestants needed, but we at home needed, as everybody put away their animosity or what happened in the game earlier, as they were just focused and just super happy just to see everybody that they love and people that they wanted to see from back home and missed so very much. And it was also a very big moment, as there was no family visit competition to see who got to keep their family on for longer. No. Everybody got to go back to camp, hang out, get to have like a barbecue and hang out and do all their things, and kids were playing with kids, families were getting to know each other, and it was just awesome. It was a very heartwarming moment. And then we went to commercial break, and that's when I was like, what about the Edge of Extinction? Those people are absolutely miserable. They're sitting over there eating their little half a cup of rice each day. I want to know if they got their family members. And then we come back to commercial, and there's a boat heading towards the Edge of Extinction, and this is where I actually got emotional. I don't normally get emotional at these like family visits, but this is the point where I was just absolutely kind of welling up with tears, with Parvati's husband and little baby boy showing up, Ethan, knowing the struggles that he dealt with in his life and on the Edge of Extinction for like days and days, and seeing his wife and having that moment was just so genuine. It came through the TV screen to me, and it really hit me hard. Boston Rab and Amba's kids were all there. I mean, it was just absolutely incredible to see Natalie's sister and nephew there, and it just goes on, and it was just something that I don't know if it was like the atmosphere of what's happening in the world today, but it just was like, it really hit a chord with me in my heart, and it was just like super nice. It was soul-filling, and I just loved it. I think this was the moment that we all wanted to see in the Survivor game. And then we go to commercial, and once that 30-minute mark happens and we get back from commercial, the game is back, we are all good, the families have left, and we are at the immunity challenge for this week's episode. And this is the one that everybody wants to win, as last episode's tribal council was nuts. Everybody was scrambling around doing their thing, saying everybody's name. This is the one where you really want to win this immunity. And this is the one where there's a balancing board with a long rope attached to it. You have to set a block, one block at a time, to spell immunity. And once you do that, the first person to spell immunity and get back to their platform first wins, gets 2 fire tokens, and is safe in this tribal council that is going to be insane. So we're getting on with this, and the competition is pretty close with a handful of competitors. We have Tony, Ben, Tyson, Kim, Jeremy, Nick. They're all very close with one another. Some started out slower than others, but they were picking up the speed, going along with it. That is until Kim and Jeremy drop first, then Tyson drops later on in this episode. Then we have a 3-way race between Tony, Ben, and Nick. And I will say that I'm actually surprised with Ben and Tony in this competition, as we know what kind of players that they are. They like to play fast. They're not really so dainty with their approaches to things. They're not very dexterous. They are not graceful in any way. Essentially, they were the ones that were in the lead this whole game, and they didn't make any mistakes throughout this entire game, as Nick dropped his blocks, and it's a 2-way race between Tony and Ben. If they were to have dropped, then the game would have been blown wide open. Tony places his last block first. He's walking back. That's when Ben puts his last block on. He's walking back, but he's a little bit behind Tony, so he needs to pick up the pace and risk losing his blocks if he wants to actually win this immunity challenge. So he goes a little bit quicker, and that's when he drops all of his blocks, and it's down to Tony. It's his race to win or lose, and he was able to get back to his platform. Jeff announces he is the winner, he gets immunity, he gets 2 fire tokens, and we go back to camp where now the scrambling has to begin. And we go to the water well right away with Tony and Jeremy wants to split up Sarah and Sophie, getting out one of them too. Then Sarah and Tony are talking at the water well, and Sarah really wants to get Kim out. Kim is a great player, and I see where Sarah is coming from, but Tony is kind of having this power on his neck. It's kind of making it go to his head, I feel, and he really wants to get out somebody else. And that somebody else is Jeremy. Once he leaves the boys' bench, that's when Tony throws out the idea of let's blindside Jeremy. And the way to get Sarah on board is saying that, hey, Jeremy said your name, which he did. And so Sarah's like, yeah, let's get Jeremy out. When Jeremy and Kim and Tyson are talking, this is where the real big divide happens in the tribe. There's 5 people on one side, 5 people on the other. You have Kim, Tyson, Jeremy, Michelle, and Denise all on the side of the No Friends Alliance. Then you have Sophie, Sarah, Tony, Nick, and Ben on the other side, as they have friends with each other. And so they're essentially going head to head. Whichever side wins has the advantage going on through the game if they stay together. But nowadays, that doesn't really happen in Survivor, as alliances don't nearly stick together as much as they used to. So going into Tribal Council, we know that there's 5 on one side voting for Jeremy, there's 5 on the other side wanting to gun after Sophie, and Kim is talking about using her idol, and on the other side, Sarah's talking about using her steal a vote, and then Jeremy's talking about just leaving Tribal altogether with his power, which would really put a lot of pressure on the rest of his alliance, and as they're going to be down a vote. And not to mention, they could be down 2 votes if Sarah actually uses her steal a vote. So there's a lot up in the air coming into this Tribal Council, and everybody else knows that as Jeff is talking, and not even 2 minutes into this Tribal Council, people are already whispering, getting up, moving around. And not gonna lie, I would be as nervous as Jeremy was, as everybody was talking, doing their thing, whispering, getting up, moving around, and then nobody talked to him. And once Jeff is like, hey, is everybody good? Everybody was like, yeah, I'm good. And Jeremy's sitting there going like, nobody talked to me. What is happening? Like, if everybody else is good, except nobody made sure I was good and I was up in the plan, that spells a red flag for me. So funny thing happens is when Jeff is like, okay, we're gonna vote, and both Sarah and Jeremy try to speak at once, getting Jeff's attention to use their advantages. And we do this a couple of times. It was like that version of like trying to get through a doorway and you keep on moving in the same way with somebody. It was really, really funny to see, but Jeremy ultimately uses his power first, and he decides to use his safety without power advantage, which means that he is safe. He gets to leave Tribal Council, but he doesn't get to vote, so he is just going to be safe, and he gets to wait for everybody else to show back up at the campsite. So that really puts a damper on his alliance's plans, and also the plans of the other tribe, as they were ready to vote out Jeremy. It looked like they were gonna vote him out. The 5 people get up and just move from behind the torches, talking to one another, while the 4 of them stay in the Tribal Council area talking about what they're going to do. Kim is trying to figure out who they are essentially going to vote for so that she can use her hidden immunity idol to the fullest, and that nobody on her side will be voted out. So it's going to be a really tough thing to do. Everybody comes back, and that's when Sarah uses her steal a vote. She wants to steal Denise's vote. So there's 6 votes on one side, 3 on the other. Jeff is about to read the votes. Then Kim uses her hidden immunity idol, but she doesn't use it for herself. She gives it to Denise. So any votes casted for Denise will be null and void. It looks promising at first as Jeff reads the first 2 votes, and they're both for Denise. Then the next 2 votes were for Sophie, and then the next 4 votes that really just puts the nail in the coffin is Tyson. Tyson is sent back to the Edge of Extinction. He doesn't like it whatsoever as he flips off the fire token boxes as he's walking out there. But that's where this episode ends. What'd you think about this episode? Let me know that in the comment section below. I absolutely love this Tribal Council, getting to see 3 advantages being used and then having to put up the strategy, because if you didn't put all your votes or didn't use the steal a vote, then people could have been all voting together. Somebody could have got really blindsided. It was absolutely incredible. I loved it. But what'd you think about it? Let me know that in the comment section below. Were you sad to see Tyson leave? Or did you want somebody else to leave? Or are you indifferent that Tyson left and is back on the Edge of Extinction? Let me know that in the comment section below. What did you think about the immunity challenge? What did you think about the family visits? I really enjoyed the family visits more times than I normally do. But what did you think about it? Did you think it was super heartwarming? And were you surprised that everybody's actual families came by? I still can't believe that they flew out everybody like that. Thank you so much for watching. While you're down there, hit that like and subscribe button. I'll be back really soon with more content in general. And join me next week, Thursday, for another Survivor review and recap. But until then, peace.